Hey guys, welcome back to Vince Bell Customs, and today I'm sharing with you two Iron Spider-Man kits that I just finished up for people. There would have been a third one, but the third one was so bad with a casting error that we had to cancel it because there was no way of me to finish it without rebuilding everything, and the client was really not willing to go that far with the project. He said it was just too much work and time and effort, so we canceled it. So we only were able to do two of them. I'll kind of go over all this, but I have to say, these kits are not kit builder friendly. I hate to put down a kit, but I have a funny feeling that maybe like 50 of these were casted up from the same mold, and this must be like the last couple ones of that generation of a mold, and it's just very, very poor. There were so many casting errors on the Spider-Man body. The legs, I could only go so far with the legs, because even though it's like mechanical arms, you can tell that some of this stuff is just very blended together from the mold. And I'm not really going to rebuild these legs from scratch, basically. There's just no way. It would take me months upon months to really do this, where I guess they just kind of were pumping them out as kits or whatever, or maybe they were just doing really bad molds. I'm not really sure, because I don't know who sculpted it. I don't know who produced it. All I know is it's just a not very friendly kit. It really pushed my patience on these, I would have to say. Rarely do I ever get frustrated with any kind of a kit or custom. If I ever do, I usually just put on the shelf, walk away for a day or two, come back, and I'm ready to work on it. These were really pushing my patience, only because you're working with three fragile legs, you're trying to get them attached to a piece for a body. Any kind of a mess up, you snap them or break them and it's a done deal. You know, it's just, what do you do after that? So, the person who wanted me to put them together, he sent me a video. In that video is another kit builder who puts it together, and he designed it where Spider-Man is magnetized into the circle, how he cuts it out. So he wanted me to follow that video. I will link his video in the description. You could check out his video and channel. So it was good to actually see somebody else work on this kit and go through the issues, where I was like, okay, I see what they did, and I kind of run with it my own little way and sort of still follow their way. So that did help in the long run with trying to put these together. But still, they were just a nightmare. So as you can see on the right, Spider-Man's not put together. So we're going to kind of go over why he's not put together. So let's get a little bit closer, and then we'll kind of go over that. Okay, so as you can see, these legs are all attached, and it's also attached to the base. There was no other way around this, because if you don't attach it to the base, it's very wobbly. So if you go to put Spider-Man in there and you're not careful, or say you're cleaning your shelf and you kind of pull it, you might actually pull these legs, and because it's kind of like almost top heavy, they might come out of the webbing and stuff on the base. So what I did is I used some Aves at the bottom. I used a little bit extra string with some glue, and I kind of touched up the bottom there, and they're attached. This one I just did like an hour ago, so it's still a little bit soft, so I want to make sure it sets overnight. Now, the way this worked is these legs are separated, and then this piece is actually in Spider-Man's back. It's already in his back here. And the way they designed it was these three legs are sort of like squared keys, and they go into his back. The problem is they never lined up. And even if you Dremel out the part in there, because he was hollow, because there's no meat in him, he was all hollow. If you put the legs into his back, and you just drop in some glue, the problem is glue's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to fall downwards. It's only going to be like glued at the very area there, and then you could run into problems with cracking, breaking, and all that stuff. So, the other thing I had to find out and figure out how to do was, the client who sent it to me, he didn't like how Spider-Man was laying downwards. He wanted Spider-Man upwards more. So what I had to do was cut the circle out of his back, fill up his body with free-form air from Smooth On, because it's like A's, but it's a very light foamy stuff, but it's durable. So I filled up his body, and then I used A's around here, and I used A's around here to create a key, and I pushed it in his back and all that stuff. But the problem is these legs, if you try to glue them in and you try to do all this stuff, it was just, nothing was working. So what I did is I just gave up. I Dremeled out the big circles in there, and I used some glue, and I kind of set it up, and then I rebuilt these circle pieces, because these right here are nothing original in here. We'll kind of get a little bit closer for you. So if you kind of go over here, this stuff is not original. What it is they sort of had, like, I guess it would look like bolts that they kind of sculpted, and then the legs kind of went in there. But this piece was a little bit bigger than this one, and this one was a little bit more of an oval, so they weren't really like sculpted uniform either. So what I had to do is sort of kind of get them in there, and then re-sculpt my own little circle pieces and rebuild my own thing there. It was the only way I was going to get this to work. I had no choice, because if I didn't make sure that was secured, if you put Spider-Man in there with the original sculpt, that stuff might break or snap, and then boom, all of a sudden he falls on the ground. So I made sure this was secured as possible. Now, as I said, the other thing too is it's very, very fragile. A lot of this is really bad casting. I did as best as I could. I filled in areas, I sanded stuff down, but it was like every time I filled in, fixed something up, I would see something else that's wrong, and then I would see something else that's wrong. And it came to the point where I can't rebuild all this. I just can't sit there and rebuild all this from scratch. I would love to, but after all, it's an old kit. It must have came back, I would say, around 2008 to 2010 area, maybe even earlier. Maybe 2006. I'm not sure. If anyone knows, let me know. But it's just a very, very old kit. It's a very shoddy casting, and there's only so much you can do with it. You know, I could sit there and I could work on this for a year, and I could make this thing look amazing and rebuild it and all that stuff, but you know, that's a lot of time and effort, and it's costly, so you can't really go that far. So we did what we could and what we had on this kit. That's the best way to do it. So the way this worked out too on his body was the arms were just another nightmare too, because there was no keys on these arms. There was really no keys, like you can see here. There was no key there. What it was like kind of like a nub. And over in these arms were kind of nothing there either. So I think the way that, I guess maybe the way they designed it was you sculpt them, you paint them up, you glue in the arm, and then you seam it up. But I couldn't seam it with this type of paint up. It would never work. So I created this key here, and then I created the hollow key area in there, the female part with the magnet. So this arm connects like this, and then this arm connects like that. So there is a seam on his arms, but there's nothing you can do about that. It's just the way it is. If this was a different type of a paint up, maybe I could seam up the arms and touch it up. But the problem is trying to get in between all there to do that Spider-Man symbol would be a nightmare. But with a strong magnet, and on both sides, he connects into there nice and easy, and he looks up forward, and he's ready to go. Now, on the third one I was working on, the problem was this arm here. This arm was just unbelievably messed up from the kit. What it was is I think it was casted up, I think it was bent inwards more. Yeah, it was bent inwards more. So what it was is if I tried to bend it backwards, I might snap here, I might snap here, I might snap or whatever, and then I would have to rebuild it. But the problem is I could get spider cracking around the rod, because I don't know if the rod is textured to bond to the, you know, the resin, or if it's a smooth rod. If it's a smooth rod, then the stuff would just come off and then I'd never fix it. So what happened was when I was putting the leg in, this leg, if I lined it up correctly here, it would come all the way out this way. If I lined it correctly there, the leg would come over here. So it came to the point where I said, you know, I told the guys, like, look, I could break it, and I have to charge you. It's just way more work. I can't guarantee I'm going to fix it. Can you try to get another leg? Sadly, they can't get any more legs. I guess the kit's already sold out. It's all done with. So we decided, screw it, we're done. We're not going to go any further. It's not the end of the world. So we kind of skipped that. So that's pretty much the two kits on putting them together. They are a nightmare. I have to say, it really pushed my patience on these things. Rarely do I ever lose my patience, like I've said before, but this really almost got to the point where I was ready just to cancel all three of them because it was driving me nuts. But basically walk away from it for a few days, come back with a fresh eyes and a little bit more of energy, and then I was able to work on them and get them going. So as far as the paint up goes, as you can see, it's very nice shiny metallic. The only way I was ever able to get it looking like this was to actually use spaztix colors. Now what I did is I used spaztix chrome silver through an airbrush. I did all the chrome on the body, and then what I did is I went with spaztix gloss black, and I did black shadowing in all the areas. I hit it again with the chrome silver just to kind of lighten up that black a little bit, but still give me a shadow. And then I went over with a rattle can of spaztix clear candy coat red. It comes out beautiful, goes over even as long as you're very careful and you take your time. But the only problem is I couldn't get the rattle can spray in certain areas. So what I had is the candy coat spaztix in a bottle that I could run through an airbrush. I was able to take some of the red, clear coat, and get into certain areas with the red, and that worked out pretty good. And then after that, I did Tamiya titanium gold on his body and also around the legs. And then there I went from Createx metallic gold, and then once that was pretty much cured up, I went with spaztix acrylic shine clear coat on him, so I got everything nice and shiny and coated. So that worked out pretty good. So I was pretty happy with the way that worked out. But you can see the legs are sort of different. These are, you know, sort of like a little bit brighter gold, not as much. This one's got a little bit more of like some gunmetals in it and coppers on the legs, because that's kind of what I had to do. So as far as all of that, the way the shields work, we'll get a little bit closer. What I'm going to do is lift up the camera and look downwards, maybe get a better idea on how the shields worked. So the shield is basically a kind of a mixture of some metallics over with some reds and some pearls. The white areas on the shield are more of like I think it's not chrome silver, it's aluminum or something from Tamiya mixed in with some Createx misting of pearl white. The blue is a Createx pearlized blue, and then what I did is I glossed it with some of my car paint, and then I lightly hit it with some alclad chrome just to give it a little bit of a chrome look. You can see it in person, but I'm not lifting him and turning him on the side just to show you the reflection, because I really want to risk it. And then after that I hit it with some alclad gloss coat to seal up that chrome. And then after that I mixed in with some white with some silverish pearlized blue stuff I've had from Createx to do all the webbing. So that's what I did with the shield and the web. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, those are the kits. Like I said, it's very frustrating kits, not very friendly. But let me know what you guys think. Have you seen these kits in the past? Do you know who sculpted them? Do you know who produced them? You guys can leave me some comments. Like I said, I did the best I could with them. I got a little bit more touch-ups to do, but like I said, I need to let these legs pretty much situate into the base, and I can hit it with some other areas that I kind of messed up on. But that's the best I could do with them. So let me know what you guys think. Give me some feedback if you like them, if you like the kit itself, or if it's something you probably would never touch, or maybe you know of them and you know people who actually have them in their collection. I'm not really sure. I know it's just a very old kit. But thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.